Virtual Racing School was developed to provide support to the next generation of sim racers. No matter if you're a rookie or veteran or what car or track you'll be racing, our goal is to provide training every step of the way. We found that iRacing can be quite difficult without proper training. There needed to be a way to prepare for on-track racing. With VRS, you can literally learn from the best sim racers in the world, including four-time NASCAR iRacing World Champion Ray Alfala.
And Ray Alfala is a four-time champion of the NASCAR Peak Antifreeze iRacing Series.
Three-time iRacing Grand Prix World Champion Martin Kroenke.
Martin Kroenke becomes a three-time world champion.
Rallycross World Champion Mitchell de Jong.
Mitchell de Jong is now champion for the iRacing Rallycross World Championship Series.
And many other top sim racers. Data packs include everything you need to start learning. Our World Championship coaches create the data packs by setting a hot lap or a series of fast laps for you to compare, analyze, and replicate. Data packs also include a tutorial where the coach points out techniques they use to hit the fast lap. This gives you access to the latest driving techniques and setups before you even hit the track. Sign up for a free account and download the VRS telemetry logger. With this application running seamlessly in the background, your laps automatically start syncing to the VRS website. From there, you can analyze and compare two laps of your choice, whether it's your data, the coaches, or your teammates. VRS will automatically target improvement opportunities so you can get up to speed even faster. VRS also makes it easy for you to request and schedule one-on-one or group coaching sessions. These sessions can range from 30 to 90 minutes, and you can select the car, track, and setup combination of your choice. Visit virtualracingschool.com today to sign up and get started.
Good evening and welcome to Apex Racing TV for round 3 of the GT Trophy Pro Season 2 here at Daytona. My name is Andy Thompson. I'm joined in the commentary booth by Mr. Dave Whitehouse and Luis Arara on the production box. So Dave, welcome to the box. These guys will have had plenty of practice, being the 24-hour is fast upon us. Many laps would have been done around this track, so we're expecting a really good race tonight.
Yeah, hello everybody. Yes, exactly. We're expecting a really close race as well because everyone will have been working on their setups for a 24-hour and it will probably just be a slight adjustment ready for this hour-long race. Or they might even just run their setups from a 24-hour because they want all the practice they can get. We looked in practice very close. I think it was top 17 within a second in practice. So we're expecting sort of a slipstream train from today's race, and got a good mix of cars, Lamborghinis, BMWs, Porsches, and a lone Audi where Arvid Rask Olsen has decided to change car.
Yeah, decided to be different from the rest of the field and trying the one and only Audi, so obviously feeling that car is more to his driving style, but we've got a few new names. I think Roger Christiansen from EPC Esports Juniors, who is normally in the Porsche Championship, a very competent driver in that Porsche, so it'll be interesting to see how Roger gets on in the GT3s, but it's certainly going to be a interesting race. So the format, they're currently in a 10-minute qualifying session at the moment, then they will go into a 60-minute race with a mandatory pit stop. Now the pit stop on this one, Dave, is a really long pit, and obviously that pit entry is so wide, so easy to make a mistake and get that 40-second stop-go penalty which will ruin drivers' races. So they need to be steering clear of that one.
Yeah, exactly. It's such a long pit lane, especially the extension there is to it with the limiter. You used to get off it at the end of a NASCAR pit wall, and now you have to go all the way through turn 1 before you let go of that green cone you just saw in the foreground of your picture. So it's a long way on the limiter. But
probably not a bad thing though. With that wall,
no, I mean,
the amount of drivers you saw go into that wall because they just got on it too quickly.
Even a Formula 1 world champion did last year. So we've got to certainly play that into the expectations. But again, like we said about the track itself, the drivers will have been practicing the pit stops and the pit entries as well if they're really committed to the 24 hours, so which these pro drivers normally are. So they would probably be into that pit lane enough times to know how to keep it as safe as possible coming in. But mistakes are made, and it's like you say, it's wide enough that you can sort of misjudge it just slightly.
Yeah, definitely. And they made some changes as we watch Christian here coming through. You see that sausage curb on the exit now at the bus stop. Makes a real difference to if you normally tried to cut that corner on the old style, you would have got away with it. And this new one, because it's so high, your car just bounce off and you quite easily spin. So it's probably a bit of an adjustment for the drivers. Maybe some didn't take that to get it. But you can also get a really savage slowdown coming off the end of that bus stop, which is around about 1.3 seconds slowdown coming off there. So the drivers obviously really do not want to get that slowdown because that's coming off the fastest part of the circuit. And if that 1 second slowdown does come into effect, you're going to lose a hell of a lot more than that in top end speed.
Yeah, I mean, the sausage curb has only been there for about 5-6 days, I believe. And then iRacing had to update it because it was literally destroying cars. So they had a very quick update to it. It hasn't destroyed cars yet. I hit it fine in my MX-5, but
they're tanks, all them things.
Yeah, they are quite formidable things. The one thing I have noticed with the GTs, especially over last week, is the Ferrari seems the most fragile. Not just over sausage curb, but generally with contact and stuff like that. Now, we have no Ferraris in this, so that could be a reason that people are trying to stay away from it.
Yeah, definitely. It won't make your day if you do hit it, put it that way. It's going to affect you. So you see there quite a few of the drivers trying to steer well clear of that sausage curb. But another treacherous corner, certainly on the first lap, is turn number 1. You know, 9 times out of 10, you do see some sort of incident going into that as we drive on board with Rasmussen here coming round to turn number 1. You can just see how fast you're going and how quickly you have to try and break down. It's coming down from 6th gear down into 3rd gear into that corner, just really slow as you come in and going out wide and trying to get it in. Really great line there from Russ Osman to get around there, but certainly if you're battling 2x2 wide into that first corner, it's heart in the mouth moment, that's for sure.
Yeah, it's difficult, and then when you get to that little chicane just afterwards, me and my teammate had an issue there with the IMSA race because the car on the outside may be slightly behind, but you get such a run out of the corner that you may not realise he's still there, and a collision can happen in that chicane. So hopefully we won't see any of that here tonight. It's just a generally tricky circuit. You've got this fast flowing outside of the circuit, but inside it's really technical and tricky. So drivers will have to compromise on setup for that and compromise on driving style as well.
Yeah, obviously we're only into round number 3, but I don't know if you want to give us a quick rundown of the championship so far, Dave, just so the viewers know who's out in front and who's the chasing pack behind. So I wonder if you could put it up, Luis, and Dave, it's over to you.
Yeah, currently the championship being led by Prevost for Valkyrie competition. 133 points he has from his opening 2 races. Lucas Lang, the most consistent behind him with 112. Thomas Aaron's got a podium in the last round to jump up into 3rd place ahead of round 2 winner Kerem Havertz, who was unlucky in the opening round. Odin Miravang, a podium finisher in round 1 for RPC Esports, is 5th with 102 points from Thomas Culliver. Carl Winkler, the top returning driver from last year, just ahead of his teammate Marek Paulich. Jeremy Bonsuedo and Marcus Bloom round out the top 10. Other drivers further down, Thomas Wangen, he's been involved in a couple of sort of higher up in races, and Orvid Raskolson have been high up in races, but I think retired from the last race, which was RPC Esports having a bit of a bad time of it last time out, so they'll be looking to fight back here.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's a bit obviously early days, and also the drivers do get a drop round within the championship, so that drop round score is only going to come into effect after round 4. So you may see a big change between round 3 and round 4 when that drop score comes into effect. But that's the leaderboard at the moment. And as you were saying, Thomas Wangen featuring a little bit further down, but certainly as long as he can keep consistent scoring now when the drop scores do come in, because obviously, as you said, in Silverstone he retired, so literally got no points. That will come out, and that will move him up the championship standings there. So as we coming to the end now of qualifying, we see Kerem Havaz there on a pole position with a 1:42.528, extremely fast time. I think it was only about 1:42.7 we had in practice, so a little bit quicker. But Roger Christensen in second place there. Great first round. Expected him to do quite well around here because we did come round in the Porsche Cup, so knows the track very well. But drivers just finishing off their laps that they're currently on, as we'll see. Yeah, if anybody jumps up any more positions, or if the grid is as you see it on the screen is how we start off the race.
Yeah, we've just got Prevost just coming round. Lucas Lang also on a lap out of the top 10 so far. So here comes Prevost into that bus stop chicane. Really committed on entry. That was almost sliding it in there. And yeah, a little bit too committed. But a great time by Culliver. Jumps up onto the front row. I think he was on front row last time out and didn't quite maximise that, but showed a lot of speed at Silverstone. But up onto the front row with Havertz, so a similar front row to what we had last time. Lucas Lang comes across the line. Has he improved from 7th? No, he stays in 7th. So that is the grid as you can see it.
Great, so we just wait for the drivers all to start gridding up, and we'll take you through the 60-minute race of Daytona for round 3 of the GT Trophy Championship. Just wait for the drivers to start gridding up as we take you through your grid positions. So as we see in pole position, Kerem Havaz with a 1:42.528. Thomas Culliver, a great end to his, just that they're nicking that second place with only 0.3 of a second slower than Havaz in first. Roger Christensen on his first outing gets the 3rd place on the grid. Prevost gets in 4th. Jeremy Bossanu in 5th place. Michael Paulich in 6th. Lucas Lang and Russ Olsen in 7th and 8th. 9th is Orvin Miravang. 10th is Dominic Engel. 11th is Marcus Bloom. 12th is Carl Winkler. 13th, Thomas Ardens. Christian Judas in 14th. Thomas Wangen in 15th. Dave Henrik in 16th. Daniel Ferrer in 17th. 18th is Sandro Marcini. 19th is Anders Lily Jordet, 20th is Brian Kroon, and at the back of the field, in 21st position, is Fernando Torres. So that is your grid for the 60-minute race of round 3 around Daytona. Should be an interesting one, Dave.
Yeah, it's going to be very interesting. Drivers, half an eye on the weekend, I think, with the 24 hours, but obviously championship-wise, people will still want a good result from here. I was just looking at the timing, actually. In the top 6, we've got 5 Lamborghinis and 1 BMW. Prevost is the guy leading the championship, though, in that BMW. So it's quite interesting to see that most people are thinking the Lamborghini is the car to have this year. It's still a BMW on top.
Yeah, it certainly is, and we saw that in the last round. Lamborghini is doing extremely well. There's a big gaggle of them at the top up till 6th with 1 BMW. Then from 10th down to 13th is all Lamborghinis. Then from 14th to 17th is 4 BMWs. And then we have 3 Porsches from 17th to 19th, with the top Porsche being in P6 of Lucas Lang. So has been able to master that car as Lucas and been really competitive, where we would expect him to be losing speed on the cars around him. He seemed to manage to have his setup that he keeps up with the faster looking cars. But it's a really interesting start here in Daytona. The rolling start as usual, and it's all down to Kerem Havas as to when they actually decide to go. It's whether he goes early or late, but he needs to try and get ahead of the field for what can be a treacherous turn 1. So let's hope that the cars can manage to get around turn 1 all nice and safely.
Front row man Thomas Culliver not on the grid. I think he may have missed the start.
Yeah, I did see him jump down the timing screen. So pit lane start from Thomas Culliver, not a great start for him, but obviously has the pace, and as long as he can get on that slipstream train that's going to be around here, he should be able to get some positions back. So a terrible start there from the Frenchman Thomas Culliver, who will start in the pits as the pace car goes off. So it's down to Kerem now to decide when he wants to start the race off, and there he goes, gets a good start over Thomas Pivot, but Thomas just managing to stick just nicely behind him. You can see Michael Pallich just hung out on the outside into turn number 1, just keeping it nice and clean. See at the back there, two wide, 3 wide coming through turn number 1, but Michael Pallich does get it a little bit wide there, but still managing to keep that 3rd place over Roger Christensen. So those two have swapped positions. So Lang and Rasoskin having a little bit of a ding dong around the international horseshoe there, but Lang coming out on top, managing to get that 6th place. So relatively nice clean start there, Dave, for the first couple of corners here. I hope I haven't just jinxed it, but all the cars making it around safely.
Yeah, all the cars making it round this twisty infield. Sort of, as I said before, they might have half an eye on the weekend, and if they're starting a race, they've got to get round the first lap, or the 24-hour might be over already for them. So a bit of well-earned practice there for them, and I think, yeah, relatively everybody has stayed right up there. But what a let-off for Prevost. Nobody in front of him on the grid, which allowed him to jump up ahead of Marek Paulich straight away. Actually, Paulich up 3 positions. It was Roger Christensen he managed to pass, who was a little bit slow away, but we can forgive him in his first race. There he is, just getting through the bus stop, followed by Jeremy Bonsuedo, who is showing the pace he had from Silverstone. And Dominic Engel up in 8th. That's the best showing we've probably seen from Engel this year so far.
Yeah, it certainly is. But one casualty that doesn't seem to have come out of the pits is Thomas Culver must have had a hardware issue, because I'm pretty sure he was on the grid and then disappeared. So may have had a hardware issue that's put him out of the race, which is absolutely terrible after a brilliant 2nd place on the grid after a late charge going into qualifying. So he'll be absolutely gutted there that he hasn't managed to make it out of this race. Marcus Blum there has gone into the pit lane, so he must have had a slight incident. But you've got to try in this race to keep on the slipstream of the car in front, or else that's where all the gaps are going to start to appear. You can sort of see the timing down there, or extremely close, all the way down to 16th. Then there's about a 3-second gap between Derek Hegrick and Anders Lily Jordet in 17th for 3 seconds, and that's just outside the slipstream range. So we'll find it very hard to try and get onto the back of Hendrick in 16th. But these cars all out in front will be just getting slipstream off each other. So expect tight, close racing, certainly for the first 20 minutes of this race, with the odd passing move. Certainly around this part of the track, you would expect to see the passing move. Certainly if the car in front has just managed to get out of the slipstream, as we watch Miravang there just on the back of Dominic Engel's car coming up to the bus stop, as we join Thomas Wangan on board for a view from a driver. Well, now there's that sausage curb, literally just riding it, going on the outside, but a great view of it, Dave.
Yeah, that car rides it a lot better than my Ferrari did around there. Yeah, that was nicely ridden in the end, actually, because it normally throws you offline, but didn't for Thomas Wangan. And these cars are really, you know, in the slipstream, will be really useful for their fuel consumption as well. Again, something they will have been learning for the 24 hours, where they're going to be there trying to save as much fuel as possible. It could get them a few extra laps, and in that long pit lane, just not be in the pits as long as we see. That is Ferrer and Marcini, I think, racing there.
It is.
And,
He just lost 2. He lost out coming in down the last straight, coming around the start finish to Thomas Ardens, and then he got left out to dry around at turn number 1, and Ferrer just managed to Daniel Ferrer just managed to nick up the inside, so losing 2 position there with Sandro Marcini from 12th down to 14th.
Yeah, something else to mention to the viewers at home. You will see the yellow line. Now, it's not right to overtake under the yellow line after you'll see 3 cones on the exit of this corner on the left-hand side. Oh, no, the camera misses them. But you need to stay above that yellow line for overtaking. Whether it's illegal is a different discussion, but it's certainly frowned upon. I know in NASCAR you can't overtake under the yellow line, but especially when around here it's not so much of an issue unless you're trying to get rid of the draft, which again is against sort of the not regulations but the way racing works. There's the cones on the left hand side heading onto this banking. Over the tri-oval, across the start finish line, it is very easy to drop below it if you're in a battle and you're just trying to make sure it's a safe overtake. So the drivers really have to be careful.
Yeah, definitely. It looks like your fan club's in the chat on YouTube there, Dave. Chris Daines called you a legend. There you go.
That's possibly a bit much, but yeah, I know Chris from my former karting days a little back. So hi, Chris. Great to see you, and hope you're doing well.
Yeah, Motorsport Magpie. Yes, it is, Chris. So obviously your fan club is in the chat here, along with some others. Yeah.
I would just say Motorsport Magpie is me.
Oh, so that's you. You could have picked yourself up there, and I wouldn't have known.
Yeah, no, I'm afraid that is me, and I won't do any more promotion on that at this moment.
Oh, yeah, definitely. But good evening to Nicholas Rasmussen, who's obviously with us on the YouTube chat. So welcome as we coming into 6 minutes into a 60-minute race here at Daytona. And Galvin Havas managed to get a good start off the grid. He was our pole sitter, managed to keep himself out in front, but he's got Prevost in a second place, only 3 tenths behind him, so still well within the slipstream effect, and getting close enough now where he's going to be coming under a lot of pressure, certainly when he's coming out of the bus stop. If Prevost can get a really good run out of this corner, same with Powledge, he's gaining, as we can see there on Prevost, around this extremely long banking section of the outer oval over here at Daytona, coming down into turn 1. So I'll expect a move here by Powledge, getting right onto the back end of the Valkyrie BMW right in front of him, not quite able to pull out, so just biding his time, keeping it nice and tight. But you can see now where it was 3 tenths with Prevost is now down to 1/10 of a second, so these front 3 really close together, and Christensen not that far behind either. So certainly you have the concertina in effect in this championship, in this round of the GT Trophy around Daytona, is that you can make a little bit of a gap, but that gap gets neutralised when you come around the oval, outside oval section.
Yeah, I've just noticed on the back of that pack as well, the driver who changed cars, Rask Olsen, in the Audi, is hanging on to the back of that little pack for the lead. So there's 7th for the lead at the moment. And I've got to be honest, when I saw he went to Audi, I was thinking, really? Because it's not the choice of car that a lot have. And in practice that I've been doing for Daytona, it doesn't seem the best along the straights, but Rask Olsen seems to have a setup that's working well at the moment, and he's just nicely sitting there in the slipstream, biding his time.
It's a very fast car though, the Audi. On a straight line, it seems to have always been the faster car on the track out of the GT3, so maybe that's why he looked at this track and future tracks coming up and thought, you know what, I'm going to move to the Audi. is a bit squirrely under braking and tight turns, but certainly on the straight line it can match a lot of the other classes as we watch it go around the bus stop there. But like you were saying, them top 7, which we can see the top 6 in front, extremely close. A little bit of a gap there back to Miravang in 8th place, so he would have lost the slipstream off the back of Raskos in 7th. So he's going to find himself coming under a little bit of a pressure from his countryman Thomas Wangen as we look back from him, and Thomas just give him a little bit of a bump draft, it looks like. So the teammates working together just to make sure that Raskowski can stay out in front there.
Yeah, with the 2 core sim racing guys straight behind as Winkler goes up the inside of Engel. And Aaron's not far behind as well, so that's 3 core sim drivers looking to get past the 2 RPC Esports teams, so that'll be quite interesting. We have Ferrer in the pits, that's a very early stop, so I guess that's for repairs. And also, unknown to us, Juzas has retired from a race, I'm presuming. He's now 3 laps down out of a race, so that's 2 retirements so far, Kulovat and Juzas.
Yeah, I can see on the incident tower that Daniel Ferreira did have a crash. I don't know if we're able to get the replay of that, Lewis, just so we can have a look at that. And Sandro Massini had a crash as well. So we'll just have a look at Daniel, see what happened to here. Coming down to the 2nd hairpin, it just spins it on his own. Yeah, just slightly spins it on his own. Easy to done around that corner. It's always a treacherous rejoin there, but luckily had plenty of space behind him. So only a slight incident there, but that would have made him gone into the pit. So I'm not sure why he would have gone in there.
Yeah, I can't see why that would have been. A bit of a strange one there, because it was just a spin. There is Carl Winkler as well, having a dig. Ah, here we are. This is Christian Jesus. Let's see what happened to the Slovakian. Oh, dear. Yeah, that didn't go to plan. Who was that in connection with? That could have been Marcus Blue. So, yeah, so that contact must have broke something, yeah, because Jesus pulls to the side, and the unlucky number 13 car is out of race.
I'm glad you saw that, because my timing tower went into a bit of a meltdown. So at least you were able to see that. But oh yes.
Oh, yeah, that's
Sandro Massini going it slightly wrong round turn number 1. It's always such a hard corner, you know, so easy to get it wrong, and that's where you can make a lot of time on this track. You've got to be brave through that corner, but if you give it, as Austin would say, too much mustard, then that's what can happen. So just stealing one of Austin's lines there, but I think that's apt for what he just did then.
Yeah, I suppose it depends if it's French or English, but you know. Anyway, we're now looking at the lead group, 2.3 seconds covering the top 7, and we're all in slipstream range. We've talked a lot about the slipstream, and it's about, I think I found you get something about 1 to 1.5 seconds is the maximum you can be behind a car before you lose out on the slipstream. So these 7 cars working nicely together to pull away from Miravang, who has Thomas Wangen behind him, and we saw them 2 trying to work together earlier to catch his pack and stay away from the core sim guys. So if Miravang, Wangen, Winkler and Engel can all sort of get in a line and not fight too much, they might be able to try and close on this pack if they start fighting. But currently the top 3 have just stretched a little bit away, and that's why I think you've seen the experienced Powlich just sitting there, not trying to harass Prevo into a mistake. Just sit there nicely. Don't pull out into corners to do half moves that's going to lose them time. Just try and help these top 2 just pull away a bit and make it a 3-horse race if they can, but the 4 behind are not letting that happen.
Yeah, what is surprising actually is Havas is managing to stay in first position. I would have thought the power of that BMW certainly within that slipstream, or Michael Palich sat in there in third place, would have been able to make a move over the Lamborghini sat in at first place at the moment. So he's doing an exceptional job of managing to keep out. Unless Pravat, like you were saying, is just sticking behind him, just saving that fuel to go that extra lap longer and let Havaz just use up all his fuel so he can do the overcut and the pit stop. But you would imagine that he would have enough power to obviously overtake Havaz on these laps that they've been doing. But at the moment, it's status quo with Havaz in first place, Pravat in second, Palich in third, Christiansen doing an exceptional job, still managing to keep onto the tailgates of Palich in front of him, Bosuano in fifth, Lang in sixth, Rask Olsen in seventh, Miravang in eighth, Wangen in ninth, and Carl Winkler there in 10th place with Dominic Engel right on his tail. So still extremely close racing there, Dave, and there's only a slight gap between 7th and 8th. So you got the little two pods from 1st to 7th, and then you've got from 8th all the way down to 11th with the second sort of battle that's going out on track as we see on screen.
Yeah, currently that second battle are working together well enough to keep the gap as it is, but not enough to sort of close it down miraculously. On the last lap, it closed half a second on Raskulson, but not to the rest of the pack, as Raskulson has just dropped a little bit off the pack. Not enough to sort of concern him too much. But this little pack are dropping Dominic Engel, so he will have to make sure that he doesn't get sort of dropped too far away. Ferrer back in the pits as well, so that's unfortunate for the Hungarian. The MTK Budapest Esports team not having the best of days.
Be good to get a replay of that one. It looks like he has crashed and jumped back to the pit, so it's got to be a substantial crash for him to do that. So I don't know if you've got that, Lewis. And as we say, we get to see, is it the same place as well? We're coming up to the hairpin, coming down to go onto the outside of the oval. Ooh.
To pull off, and maybe something was still broke from time before and he didn't want to continue the lap in case he got him away, maybe, I don't know.
Not sure.
That's a bit of an odd one there, but back with this pack for 8th place, and Miravang, after doing a race in the opening round where he was the only driver to get anywhere near Prevost, went off the boil a little bit last time out. We said it might be Circuit Pacific or anything like that, but he's down in 8th at the moment and not really closing on the pack in front.
Yeah, we did see this in, I think it was the Amateur Championship, the GT Pro Trophy AMS that was previous to this. We had the two-track Scotland teammates, obviously came, name eludes me, but I'm sure I will. But he won the first opening round on the Merbo GP, and basically was nowhere to be seen after that. He was literally mid to back end of the pack, so it was a very strange one there for that one. And we might be seeing the same here, where Miravang obviously had an excellent first race around the Red Bull Ring, and obviously falling down the order, not to the tracks that you may like. I don't know. It's always a strange one, because obviously you do have favourite tracks on iRacing that you really enjoy, and you have ones that you think, I could really do without this being in the championship. But yeah, it'd be interesting to see if Miravang can just get out. We're only into round 3 of 9 rounds around this GT Pro, so still early days to be on the driver down, I suppose. But Miravang there, sat in 8th place, so not the end of the world, certainly above mid-pack at the moment, and just trying to get back. But what I wanted to ask you, Dave, is obviously we see Thomas Wangen bump drafting Miravang with the two teammates. Do you think that's a right call, or do you think they should be swapping the slipstreams over so they get maximum speed and try and get away from the two core sim racing guys behind them?
Personally, I think bump drafting is probably the best way to do it. Whether you actually have to touch a car in front or just sort of lift off slightly, that's up for debate. But
there we go.
Overtaking each other when they get side by side, it's just going to bring Carl Winkler into the fight even more, because it's just going to give him a two cars side by side making a space, and he could go anywhere on the circuit to try and get past. As you saw that all the lap times, that's a very early lift off by Winkler there, so he is obviously trying to save a little bit of lift and coast, expected as wide goes Mirvang and Wangan goes side by side. And this is what I mean. They just end up losing a bit of time there. And it's let Winkler as Mirvang goes onto the grass.
More of a mistake than a team tactic there, though.
Yeah, he was lucky not to lose that on the grass, and Winkler goes through. So now it is, I was about to say a BMW sandwich, but we're not going to get into that one.
We keep talking about sandwiches. It always makes me hungry after these broadcasts. I think I want a sandwich now.
Yeah, going back to what you were saying about the front train and Prevost not passing Havertz, I just think it's a tactic. What is the point in trying to run away when you know they're just going to get the slipstream and stream straight past you or sitting there and save fuel? With this top 3, maybe 4, you're not going to run away. But, you know, unless you know you've got the pace to be possibly a second a lap quicker, so you get away before the oval, you may as well sit there and save that little bit of fuel and know that you've got more pace in the bag. Why show your hand now?
Yeah, I mean, that was an excellent example there from Palic. Coasting miles back from where you would normally brake coming into the bus stop, got right onto the back of Prevost in front of him and just coasted into there. So I think you're exactly right there. I think they are saving fuel behind Havertz in front. So Havertz will have to pit earlier than these guys behind him, who are saving probably quite a considerable amount of fuel, because since the start of this race being 19 minutes long, they've literally just been in a big train with Havertz just trying to split that the air in front of him. So he'll be using a lot more fuel than the cars in front. So I'd imagine he would have to look at pitting first.
Yeah, and it also shows how much the slipstream does help, but isn't always everything. Because we've had fastest lap of race from Christensen in 4th, who has a little bit of gap to Pawlic. Dominic Engel has just set his fastest lap of race, and he's got a little bit of a gap to Mirvang. You want to be close enough for that slipstream, but around this section to get a quick lap, you don't want to be right behind somebody like Pawlic is now, because you have to judge when they're going to brake or if they're going to make a mistake, and you're always just at half a second off the throttle, a little bit longer just to go, oh, is he going to make it out that corner? So it's, you know, these are pro drivers, you don't see many mistakes, but when you do, you don't want to be right behind them when they make that mistake, as it is Pawlic now attacking Prevost a little bit more. Pawlic, yeah, lifting off into the corner and just braking that little bit later just to keep the corner speed up, and you'll get the slipstream down the next straight to catch back up and not lose too much time, but probably save a bit of fuel.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to go on board with him when they're coming out of that round the oval, just to see how far back he is actually coasting. You normally brake round about in between the 1 marker, and there's like a little lamppost on the right hand side between 1 and 2. You normally brake around about there, or certainly start letting off the fuel, but I think he's letting off a lot earlier than that at the moment. So it'll be interesting to see how far back he is. It gives us an indication of how much fuel he's actually trying to save.
Yeah, he's just done it there. You saw the light box on the right hand side, the yellow light box, and there's the same going into the chicane, and he was already off throttle when we joined him. So it shows that he, you know, the course in racing guys are very much a team effort, and they will have worked at this to make sure they could know how long. Oh, Pawlic may be going, he's going a little bit deep on the brakes there behind Prevost, trying to avoid him. But again, I mentioned it last week, Karim Havertz, has no teammates. He's a complete privateer in this car. Yeah, he may have friends, or he might have setups from different people, but he's a fully fledged privateer. He hasn't got teammates in this. So he's doing an exceptional job.
If you look down here, if you look on the right hand side, you're looking for that. He's coming off there before the 3 marker, getting a little bit of a gap there, and then just closing it up, coming down here. I mean, that is a lot of fuel saving. I mean, you're normally on the throttle up to the 1, and he's getting off the throttle before the 3 marker. That's insane.
Yeah, that was, I couldn't quite believe it when you took over and said, you know, where this marker is for braking. I was thinking, hang on, he's getting off the throttle already. You know, absolute madness. You'll hear it again here. We'll shut up so you can hear it. There's the braking marker. He's off the throttle so early, and as you can see, he's lost no time whatsoever. He is technically slower over a lap than the two in front if they're not doing the same, but the slipstream is bringing him back into play, and again, he's 7/10 off the lead.
I mean, that's just a really good. I've never really watched it actually on a broadcast, watching it in full effect, but that shows a great example of the fuel saving when we're talking about fuel saving on these races. Certainly the hour-long races, maybe not on the 15-minute sprint races. That's just an all-out, full-out sprint. But these races are 60 minutes where you've got to do a pit stop. The pit stop strategy, as you'll see when they start coming in, plays a big part to these races. You know, you can win out or lose out. Now these two drivers in the front, and I think Prevot is probably not fuel saving as much as Paulich is there in third place. The wily old dog of Paulich has been around ARL racing leagues for many years, very experienced, and you know, pretty much coasting a lot. I mean, you can see there Prevot coming off on the free marker. It's I bet Kerem's like thinking, what's going on? Why are these guys not passing me? But these two guys in second and third doing exactly what they should be doing, and just fuel saving, seeing no need. Might as well wait till the last 15 minutes of the race before all the bonsai goes out and we start seeing the moves happening.
There's something I noticed with Prevot, though. The sound of the engine disappeared completely compared to Paulich. Prevot right up behind Havertz. He's not going to make a move. But with Paulich, you could hear the engine still braking. Prevot sounds like he's clutching down, so he's not even using the engine to brake. He's just coasting in there completely silent. And that will save him even more fuel. So while Paulich might be going, oh yes, it's brilliant, I've saved all this fuel, Prevot is going, yeah, do what you want, mate, because I'm literally clutching in and saving even more fuel. So something I did notice from my own practice, generally the pit stop time on the limiter without the actual stop itself is about 30-second loss. So depending how long you're in the pits, that will give you an idea of how long it takes to do a pit stop.
I'd imagine it'd be around about 20 seconds, between 16 and 20 seconds normally the fuel that these guys have taken on the races. But you've obviously given me a name there for Fearbad Prevot. Fearbad, the silent assassin Prevot. There you go. That's his new name for the championship.
Yeah, but he does need the engine for the rest of the circuit. He's not Fred Flintstone.
No.
But we are up to 25 minutes in the race now. So drivers, you know, the early pit stops we've seen in the first couple of rounds have been 24, 25 minutes. So might start seeing people take an early stop. But like you said before, the pit stop time is so long here compared to some of the circuits. It's probably more worth running your car lighter than coming in early unless you're really being held up. Which on a circuit like this, if you're being held up, you'll go around the outside of the slipstream.
Yeah, definitely. So I think probably, like you say, most of the drivers just leaving it till they can't do another lap here. But before we get into that round of pit stops that will be shortly coming, just a big shout out to our three main sponsors for this series: Virtual Racing School. Improve your on-track performance with over 50 plus data packs for road and oval racing, setups, track guides, data analysis software, and one-to-one coaching. Head over to virtualracingschool.com for more information. And another one that goes alongside that is Apex Racing Academy. They've got 29 data packs, setups, track guides. It's fully integrated with the VRS system, weekly group coaching sessions, plus many more. So head over to apexracingac.com for the different packages that them guys can do for you. And last but not by any means least is SDK Gaming. So as you can see on our overlay on the left-hand side, we use SDK Gaming here for all our broadcasts on Apex Racing TV. So add a virtual live hub to iRacing, show timing towers, enhance relative boxes, mini maps, fuel calculators, and more. Stream to Twitch with the most comprehensive overlay on iRacing. Broadcast your leagues and series. SDK Gaming syncs your commentary team cameras, focus drive and driver overlay with your broadcaster, and adjust your team strategy on the fly with the most accurate live timing on iRacing. So head over to stk-gaming.co.uk, and great piece of software. Obviously, we are currently watching what Lewis puts on stream to us, who's doing a fantastic job in the production box, which makes life easier for us commentary. We can commentate exactly on what we're seeing, and all of us see the same thing. So yeah, head over to them at SDK Gaming .co.uk and see what they can do. But just getting in now, I think, where we're going to start seeing a few pit stops. We've got Thomas Wangen that's currently gone into the pit lane, so we'll see what sort of time that he lays. It should be a competitive one, and we can benchmark that for the rest, Dave.
Yeah, I'm quite surprised at that, because Wangen was sitting behind Miravang for a very long time, and for him to need to pit earlier seems a bit strange, because obviously you're taking yourself out of the slipstream. Now that's another crucial thing in this when you do pit, as Wangen has done a 22.6, so quite a long stop compared to what we do see, but that is because he's come in earlier. The drivers, so go on.
No, I'm just saying, it was a 57-second complete stop there, so near enough a minute in the pit. That's huge, isn't it?
Yeah, I think to do a GT3 full tank is about 1 minute 15 generally for a pit stop round here. So you can tell I've been having to do all the swatting for the 24 hours, can't you?
You have that all on your whiteboard, mate, I'm sure.
Yeah, once we wrote all the football stuff off, but the drivers will be trying to probably pit around maybe the same time as a large group, and just hope they have a quicker pit stop. Maybe take a risk on a little bit less fuel that they've saved from doing this. So right now, if, for example, this whole group of 7 pitted, there wouldn't be worth somebody staying out who saved fuel, because you'd lose too much time in the slipstream. You may as well come in with them and just have that shorter stop. As we see another course in racing car, Aaron's heading for the pit lane as well. So maybe he's pitted so he can work with Wangen later. Sorry, Wangen's not course in racing, is he? No, he's dropping back towards Marcus Bloom, who's course in racing too. So he might be able to work together with him. But as I say, around this circuit, I would literally try and pit when everybody else is, so you don't lose the toe, unless you really have some outright pace, which obviously these top 7 are pretty closely matched.
Yeah, they certainly are, and exactly that. You don't want to be coming out the pit lane in no man's land, because you haven't got the slipstream off anyone, so you'd be losing at least half a second a lap, just purely on the slipstream effect around this track. So absolutely massive that you don't want to be left out in no man's land. But it looks like at the moment Thomas Arlen's in 18th place there is out on his own. So it'll be interesting to see what this big train of cars here all the way down to 7th place manage to do on the pit stop, whether they all come in as soon as Havas does, or whether they play out to the few, which I would imagine the top 2, also second and third there, Prevot and Pawlicz, will go that extra lap, I think, over Havas, who currently leads out this race from the start in 31 minutes down, 29 minutes left to go. So all the action is soon about to be kicked off, but we're joining a little Porsche battle here between Lily Dodette and Marzan in 13th and 14th. So little Porsche battle going on screen for all you Porsche fans out there.
Yeah, Miravang, Engel, Henrik, Torres, all moving into pits. There is Leodrod and Marcini also heading into a pit. So this is where you'll start seeing some tactics coming into play on how long they're in the pit stops for. Just having a look, Miravang was the first one to be in the pit, so we'll just wait and see what his time is. He's currently been in the box for 16 seconds, so he'll be heading out any minute soon. Let's just have a look. Oh, it's a very long stop at 23.45. So he's still been in longer than an English batsman in Australia, but he's just that little bit too long compared to everybody else.
Well, Engel 23.6, so around about the same. Engel 25.9 and 25 seconds for Torres there. So all around about the same time, and so those should still come out in a big group of them, but we're still waiting for the top 8 cars still to pit in on this as we're currently watching. Carl Winkler been out in no man's land, about 5 seconds behind Rask Olsen in 7th place, and a country mile ahead of Miravang at the moment in 9th. But we do know that this pit lane stop is around about 57 seconds, so if he pits on this lap, he should come out just behind Thomas Arends in 12th place there. So Thomas not losing too much time on that pit lane. So obviously being a little no man's land for 1 lap before getting onto the back, Nick, close to Dominic Engel, his teammate in 11th.
Yeah, if Winkler does miss out, as Lang, Rask, Olsen and Winkler, so the 2 guys at the back have decided to jump and take the pit stop while these 5 carry on. So that's quite interesting, because they probably won't know that those 2 have pitted. So if those 2 come out pits and push really hard, these guys are still fuel saving, there could be a swap round in positions there.
It certainly could be. I mean, these guys are going extremely deep into this race. I mean, I'm surprised of Havas being out the front on his own, getting no slipstream effect, no fuel saving effect, to be able to still be out there after 33 minutes. So probably brimmed his car full of fuel at the start of this race. So I imagine it won't be too long before we see these front 7 cars coming into the pit lane for pit stop, as we see Miravang there in 9th place. Carl Winkler managed to get out just in front of Miravang, so he did come in on that lap, and obviously got out in front of Miravang. So what was his 22.23?
Yeah, so he gained a little bit on some of the drivers. We've had a couple of mid-21 second stops as well, so that's been quite good. Fernando Torres just moving up. Oh, losing a few positions there. I think something may have happened to Torres there. Yeah, oh no, Torres is spun at hairpin 2 on the exit. Doesn't look like, was he helped? Was it wide out of turn 1? Oh, it was out of turn with a little chicane, and yeah, that's just really unlucky for Torres, who was running really well in 14th, actually. One of his best runs so far this season. But everybody is in, apart from Havertz, so this could hurt him unless he's got some fuel to really push. Now, you were saying about him being in the pit earlier than everybody else. I think it's because he's been running whatever fuel saving, whatever pace he wants. Nobody was going to overtake him. So he hasn't had to sort of, it's not like he's pushed harder than everybody else. He's just been able to run his own pace, as we see them come out in the same order in the pit lane. Oh no, but Suedo's beaten Christensen out by the looks of things. Yes, his pit stop was a second quicker. A great pit stop by Prevost on 20 seconds dead.
We've got a little bit of a gap between Palic behind, just over a second gap, obviously coming super close into, you can see the gap there on screen. And Lucas Lang managing to get through with Rash Olsen, getting in front of Christiansen. So Christian had a bit of a terrible stop there and losing quite a considerable. He was in 4th place, now finds himself down in 7th, and has got a lot to do to try and get onto the back of Ras Olsen to challenge him. But one of the things out front here, Karam Havas has led from the start of this race, our pole sitter, 36 minutes into this race, still yet to pit. I can't imagine he's going to go another lap, but he needs to get a super fast lap in on this one to make sure he can secure that first place as he dives into the pit. So interesting to see how long he stays in compared to what Thomas Prevost did of a 20.12. So eagerly await to see the timing of Havas in the pit lane, and if Prevost will be able to jump him. So we see Prevost just coming out of the bus stop now, coming onto the oval part of the track. Havas still in his pit box at the moment.
He's behind that grandstand somewhere.
He's at the front there.
Yeah, it's really close. It's going to be, but I've noticed this shows you how much different pit stops are made. Howlich is nowhere near the back of Prevost. Havertz is on pit exit. Here comes Prevost round. Limiter line is coming up for Havertz. Prevost's not going to be able to make it, I don't think. And it's going to be mighty close, but Yeah, Havertz makes it, but look how far back is Paulic after harrying Prevost throughout this race.
Yeah, it was over a second slower in the pit stop, and you know, if you look at the fuel that Karim Havertz took there, 19.75, so by far the quickest pit stop in the round of pit stops with a 19.75. Obviously, you got Prevost behind him at 20.12, so not that far behind him, but has managed to secure himself a 1.4 second gap over Prevost in second place. And like you said, Dave, that slipstream starts getting out when you're into 1.5 seconds. That's when you start losing it a little bit more. So Karim Havertz a masterstroke there to pull out as much time as he did, considering how close Prevost and Paulic were to the back of him.
Yeah, we saw the pace from him coming through the field at Red Bull Ring, dominated Silverstone, and he's dominated again here at Daytona. It's going to be a question of who can stop him, but Prevost looking at another second place, which will literally keep him clear in the championship for now, and Havertz will probably move up into second place. But this is Lucas Lang, second in the championship. He's been very quiet here today. He's kept his nose clean in the first half of the race, and he's starting to find a bit of pace. He could, that's a podium right in front of him, that white and red Lamborghini. It's less than a second, so the slipstream is a double slipstream is there for Lang in the Porsche.
It'd be great to if you could come into the commentary box and just see where he gets his speed in this Porsche. I mean, these cars around him are normally, on average, he gets very sideways coming into turn one. That's how he gets it. He's on the limit all the time. But that Porsche is not known to be as fast as the Lamborghinis are in a straight line, but he gets the most out of that car. And obviously we know when it comes into the corner section, so that's where the Porsche really comes into its own over the rest of the cars in the GT3. They're doing an exceptional job, but as we currently ride on board with Bonsuado in fourth place, looking at the back of Michael Paulic's Lamborghini there, who has lost, look how much time he has lost to Prevost in second place, literally near enough 3 seconds now, the gap between Prevost and Paulic. Considering they were all probably covered by 0.3 of a second, that is an exceptional round of pit stops. And that's what we were saying at the start of this race, is the pit stops play a huge part in the outcomes of these races.
Yeah, especially when you have such a fast pit straight. I know it's banked and an oval, but fast pit straight really does make a difference on how long you are in the pit lane. And Bonsuado and Lang really harassing Paulic at this stage. Further back, Miravang has got past Winkler after the stop. So Miravang trying to had one of the earlier stops, along with Wangen. They're up in 8th and 10th at the moment, with the two course sim racing cars of Winkler and Engel around them. Looking further back, Aaron's not going as quickly as we've seen in this season so far, so maybe just not quite there. And Ryan Kroon is still there in 17th place, just catching the back of Torres after Torres' spin. So the Porsche driver for Indy Autosport still going there ahead of Marcus Bloom, who's the final runner in the race. Daniel Ferrer is still in the pits. He's been in the pits for about half an hour trying to fix that car. I guess he took a fast repair beforehand and has decided to sit in the pits, but he is 16 laps down. So if he does come back out, it will be just for testing reasons rather than anything else.
So we only lost 3 drivers. Obviously terrible for Thomas Kova there, who is in 23rd position. Managed to put it on second in the grid, but unfortunately, you know, something happened. Must be a hardware failure or a computer failure that basically put him back to the pits and didn't start this race. So absolutely terrible news there for Thomas Kova, who was flying quite high after that very late lap in qualifying to manage to get him onto second place. So unlucky for him, and look forward to seeing him for the next round. But certainly got 18 minutes left of this race to go, and there's many little pocket battles going out on track at the moment. We're currently on board with Carl Winkler in 9th, who's got Miravang just in front of him. Thomas Wangen is about 2 seconds, about 8 seconds behind Carl Winkler at the moment, so a little bit of a gap, so he can concentrate on the car in front of him of Miravang and just try and utilize that slipstream to try and make the passing move, but closing up really quickly at the moment on Miravang, coming into over the start finish line and down into first corner. So I wonder if he'll try to make an optimistic move down to into the first corner, or will bide his time to wait for the second half of the oval.
Yeah, I think Carl Winkler knows he's got about 18 minutes to go to pass this car, because they're not going to close on the gap in front. So he's got time to make sure it is a clean and a full-on move that's not going to be repeated. Because if he can get past Miravang now, Miravang will just come back at him. So Carl's experienced enough to know. The Course Sim Racing team will be probably talking him through that at this moment in time. I was just having a look, actually. Roger Christensen, yes, he had that really slow pit stop, but he has got the fastest lap of the race, a 43.32. And I don't know how these guys do 43s. You know, we spoke about it before the broadcast. We were doing 47s. You know, it's
I'll put that down to 110 litres and on an endurance setup rather than a sprint setup. So,
yeah, it was really hot as well.
Yeah, super hot, like.
Yeah, and a massive headwind that kept changing to a headwind wherever it was. Yeah.
Any excuse.
Where's that driver excuses book?
Yeah, exactly. Where's the more?
Yeah, mine's so big I can't have it on my lap.
It's like a whiteboard, mate.
Yeah, exactly. But here is Winkler, and I've noticed he's been lifting as he's caught up to Miravang, so he is obviously just thinking that, nah. Oh, here he goes.
Oh.
Speaking of, round the outside, it's going to be a brave move. The two cars quite equal in straight line speed, but Winkler obviously having a slipstream. Miravang not letting this go lightly, and Winkler going round the outside. Oh, he's touching in the braking area. That's very easy to do in that corner. Winkler will get the better run out, but I just wonder if Winkler was using that as a bit of a test run to just see if the outside line is possible. You know, if he got past, great, but he wasn't going to risk too much on the brakes there.
No, it's quite close there coming into turn one, because that inside car, obviously Miravang, when you go into your braking zone, that's exactly what happened to me in the Raw for the 24 on the weekend. You know, I was in second place, the third place came around the outside like that, and obviously the inside car will naturally move to the outside just the way the corner is, and unfortunately the third place guy clipped me, so I was sort of seeing deja vu there, but luckily the drivers kept it nice and safe. But Carl just needs to get a really good run out of the bus stop to try and get the move done before turn number one, because if he keeps trying to do that, then Miravang will have that inside line, which is the better line going into turn number one, so needs to get a really good exit coming into the bus stop, but more importantly, getting on the exit of bus stop.
Yeah, Karim Havertz's lead is out to 5 seconds, but we have a new person in third place. Jeremy Bonsuedo has made it past Marit Pawlich, who has been in third place for all of the race so far, all 43 minutes before Bonsuedo making it past. And this battle will really start launching off now. This is a look from Lucas Lang, who's in 5th place. Fastest lap of the race that time round was by Lang, 43.8. Just sitting there. Yeah. Bonsuedo running wide. That's left battle going. Here comes Lucas Lang up the inside, and he has Marit Pawlich. And weirdly enough, a little bit of inexperience there by Pawlich, trying to look for a move back straight away, forgetting that Lang was right behind him.
Yeah, we saw there an excellent example of the braking power then Porsches got really late on the brake, managed to get it up on the inside of Michael Pawlich and get the move relatively easy into the horseshoe. So nice move there from Lang in 4th place, and he'll still have the slipstream of Bonsuedo in 3rd place in front of him coming around onto the outside of the oval, so will make it extremely hard for Michael Pawlich to come back at him round here.
Yeah, it's going to be hard for Porsche to try and get past anyone on the straight, I think, as well. So Bonsuedo lucky with that mistake, but Lang is in the slipstream, and will he try and surprise him into a bus stop? No, it's not really the best of overtaking spaces unless you're completely alongside. as they come through that first bit. Missed the sausage curb on the second bit, just about by there by Powlich, who will get a nice toe, but Lang nicely in the toe this time by with Bonsuedo, and let's see if he can give the Lamborghini a shot down into turn 1.
Bonsuedo does what he did on the previous lap, going a little bit wide into that turn 1. That will give Lang the emphasis to try and duck down the inside. So watch Lang probably swing out a little bit wide, but try and take that inside line into this corner here to try and keep it as tight to the wall as possible. No, Bonsuedo goes onto the outside. Bonsuedo manages to keep his car on the inside on this lap, but exactly that. Lang was geared up for that inside move, just cut in that corner as much as he could, but Bonsuedo had him covered on that lap. But we'll certainly see the cars behind him, the Porsche and the Lamborghini, just queuing up at the moment to have a tag at the third place car and get that last place on the podium. But Prevot, Jesus, what's happened to him? He's now coming into the clutches of Bonsuedo. Havas managing to pull out a nearly a 6-second gap, so Prevot's struggling at the moment, it looks like, Dave.
Yeah, it does look like it. Maybe just sort of short-fueled it a touch to try and... Because I'm guessing the BMW is quite a thirsty car, considering how quick it is on the straights, and it's quite a sort of a bulky-looking car compared to the rest. So maybe he's just short-fueled it a touch and got to save a little bit for a lap. But he's certainly dropping back into the battle for these three. Roger Christensen has got past Arvid Rask Olsen in the Audi, so that is back up to 6th for Christensen, who was looking so strong earlier on, got the fastest lap of the race, but then dropped in the pit stops, and he's having to recover back through now. He's just that little bit away from Powlich to not get the slipstream to help, so he will need Rask Olsen to push him along, and probably will do, because they are sort of from the same stable.
Yeah, definitely. But what will happen, certainly as we get into this, you've got 11 minutes left of this race, the top 3, or from 3rd down to 5th, will start battling quite hard, losing some space, and that'll give the emphasis for Christensen to try and get onto the back of them, because they will lose time on them as we start seeing the swaying across the track now. And Prevot is right in, only 0.5 of a second, 0.4 of a second, ahead of Bonsuedo in 3rd place there. So certainly now a battle for 2nd place overall in this race, and I'm not sure what's happened to Prevot in 2nd place. He's just gone off a cliff. What's his lap time's been? A 144.23, 28 was his last lap. Everyone else around him was doing 143.6, so near enough half a second slower on that last lap of the drivers around him. It may be, like you said, the fuel status in that car, he just underestimated and trying to save fuel, but what that has done now is brought him back into the clutches of the battle for what was for 3rd is now the battle for 2nd.
Yeah, but you'd rather fall back into the clutches and then save a little bit in the slipstream than do another pit stop. So Prevot just trying to control it at the moment. Maybe he just knew he could catch Havertz, and it could just demoralise you for a lap or two, but somebody needs to get on the phone to Havertz and let him know that he's got this race done and dusted if he keeps it on the island with 10 minutes to go. And Powlich back on the back of Lang should be a relatively easy run for Powlich against the Porsche, which isn't the quickest in a straight line. He pulls out nice and early, but Porsche has a slipstream off the 2 cars in front as Bonsuedo goes to the outside of Prevot across the start line. Oh, there's contact between the 2 cars, but Bonsuedo is through, and Prevot, I just wonder if has he maybe got a little, I mean, we can't see it, but maybe a little bit of front end damage from how close he was back to the back of Havertz earlier on, because that was a very easy overtake for Bonsuedo.
But maybe another factor we're not really taking in is tyres. These drivers do not take tyres on around the pit stop. An hour should be more than enough. But this BMW, following in the slipstream, may have used up a bit more tyres than the cars around him. So that will obviously affect his braking zones as he gets right onto the back of Bonsuedo.
Deep enough there.
And then had an intimate examination of the Lamborghini in obviously trying to undercut on the underside of his thing. Probably just wanted to see what I said anyway, but as we see now, Prevot just getting onto the outer ring with Bonsuedo here, and it'll be interesting to see if he manages to get back past Bonsuado coming into turn number 1.
Yeah, Bonsuado certainly seems to have looked after his car well in the first half of the race. And the funny thing is, Miravang and Winkler are going to be thinking at the end of this race, because they've been swapping places back and forward across the start-finish line, but that shows how close they are with Wangan just close behind. But they will go, oh, we'll watch the broadcast, we'll be all over that. No, sorry, there's been action further ahead as well. You know, so you've had your TV time, boys, don't worry. As Prevost is going back past Bonsuado according to the timing screen, and we think they may have done it. Let's have a look. That was great timing with replay. Here's Prevost in the slipstream. The BMW quick in a straight line. Oh, is that below the yellow line? There was a little bit of a gap there, though, so Prevost, and look at the two behind having a look as well, with Lang sitting there going, I'll just wait for the brakes, don't worry. Up the inside of Bonsuado. Lovely move by Lucas there. Lovely move by Lucas Lang.
He got hung out to dry, did Bonsuado there, coming around that first corner. Went out exactly wide about 3 laps before he did the same move. And Lang and Paulich managing to get past Bonsuado. So Bonsuado going from 2nd place on the last lap down to 5th. It just shows how closely these guys are to each other, that you can lose 3 places just in the space of 1 corner. So any slight mistake, these guys will pounce on it.
Yeah, that was great anticipation by Lang, who was actually behind Paulich coming onto that straight. So Lang really just sat there and got ready for the move and thought, well, I'm not going to pass you in a straight line. I'll just wait for the brakes.
Yeah.
And did it. You know, and the 2 behind are now closing in. So this could be a 6-car battle for 2nd place in the last 5 minutes.
Definitely. I mean, watch Lang's line coming into that first corner. He's really tight to the left-hand side, keeping it nice and tight. So, you know, trying to capitalise on any driver that might go slightly wide into turn number 1, but keeps it extremely tight. So you see Lang in front there, the Porsche on the inside, with Paulich going around his outside, but he's going to be on the outside through turn 1. I'm actually trying to make a move here onto the 2nd place. But watch Lang now, right on the inside, just tucking up behind and managing to get in front of Paulich in front of him. So there's a classic move there of, yeah, okay, Paulich got him done, but the power of that through this Bonsuado's just trying to have a look at the moment, but Paulich managing to get down the inside, coming down the international horseshoe of Lang, and a bit of door rubbing there between Lang and Paulich, and Bonsuado's just joined the action. So these 3 really races on now for these 3, and what they don't want to be doing is letting Prevost just get away from them in front of them.
Yeah, Prevost certainly been struggling, but these 3, I mean, Bonsuado's annoyed. You could see by the car's attitude into the corners and out of the corners, it's all sort of swinging about. He's annoyed that he's dropped down to 5th place. Christensen's catching up behind. You got Paulich, who was on the podium earlier on and wants that podium position back. Lang that goes, well, I know I can do it all on the brakes. And Prevost just going, well, I've been slow. Where is everybody else? When is everybody else actually going to come past? But they're too busy fighting behind, and like you say, might just let Prevost go. But the radio call has to go out to Karen Havertz. Last time round, a 43.55, just continuing to pull this lead out. And it's not, maybe that's sometimes right for a driver to keep on pushing, because you've got in a rhythm. And if you take your concentration slightly away from that rhythm, that's when things can go wrong, because it's set to 43.7, like it's easy to do.
But like we were saying, a couple of laps where Roger Christian was about 2 seconds behind these guys. Oh, nice tight move up onto the inside, so trying the same line as Lang does. I think RPC Esports will be maybe looking at promoting Roger from the junior rank into the senior, being the top RPC Esports driver currently in this race, with his teammates just behind him in 7th and 8th place. But Roger doing an excellent race here, and they've got a really good opportunity in the last couple of laps of this race. Now got onto the back of the battle for the 2nd place overall in this race, and anything can happen in these last couple of laps.
Yeah, and here we are back at 8th place. Wangan has got past Winkler and Miravang, who must have been watching each other far too much. And Wangen's just gone, thank you very much, I'll have them positions, and I'll be up to 8th place. So this battle continues between Mirvang and Winkler. Winkler just ahead. Like you say with Christensen, though, he was the quickest in testing. He was just set a 43.1. It was a 31.0 final set to 6/10 quicker than anyone else, which just shows you what happens with the slipstream. But must have got a brilliant exit from the chicane. Rides the sausage a little bit there, putting his right front in the air. But he's got a nice slipstream now on Bonsuedo, who we've seen's annoyed. So in the heat of battle, might just make a mistake. So Christensen really trying hard here to try and get onto the podium on his debut in the series.
Yeah, I mean, his fastest lap is 3/10 to the next challenger, who is Jeremy Boswado with a 1:43.43. Our leader, best lap is a 1:43.55, which he'd done the lap beforehand. But he's been really consistent with that at the moment, is Kerem Havaz in first place. But as we can see now, this battle for second place really heating up now, going 2 by 2 into the horseshoe. You know, Prevot in second place is the car that everybody's trying to chase, and he'd be the car that won't have the slipstream, as we watch Christian trying to go down the inside all over the back of Bonsado in 5th place at the moment. So really trying to make a move is Roger Christensen on the 5th place, Jeremy Boswado at the moment. So he's certainly feeling a lot of pressure from the Lamborghini behind, but as you can say, the Lamborghini in front of Palic is putting a lot of pressure on Lang, and Prevot in second place is managing to keep his nose out there in second place. But you can just see on screen now how close these drivers are together. A little bit of a gap between Palic and Boswado, and a little bit opening up with Christensen, but by the end of the bus stop going into turn 1, they'll be all back on the bumper of each other's cars.
Yeah, we'll keep our eyes on this battle, because this is the main one. Winkler has managed to get past Wangen, so those 3 cars are really close together, the German and the 2 Norwegians. But this is the fight we're going to watch as they come round. Havertz heading on to his final lap this time by, I believe, and we've got this train of cars. Now, if I was Christensen, I'd just get him that slipstream. Looking to the inside, Bonsuedo, they're using every part of the track possible. That's Pawlic around the outside. This Porsche obviously just not quite there in a straight line, but look at that braking power. Keeps it up. Bonsuedo up the inside of Lang. He won't make that. I think Lang will get the run out the corner, and he will have the inside line for the next one. There, Pawlic is out onto the grass as Christensen pushes him wide, and Pawlic is round, and Bonsuedo is round, and that's held up Christensen. So that will allow... Who's going to get out of that in front? It's Pawlic ahead of Bonsuedo. I think that was Bonsuedo. Was that Bonsuedo? No, it was... Pawlic lost control of it into Bonsuedo, I believe.
I'm not sure. It'd be interesting to see a replay of that, but it was extremely close. You could see that there was a bit of an incident between Bonsuedo, and you can see Bonsuedo, we're watching. You can see Pawlic just behind him. Pawlic coming up the inside, and then I think it's just a race.
Really easy to do that. Yeah, really easy to do.
I think, unfortunately, but puts paid to their 2 battle. But what that has done now is Roger Christensen is up to 4th place, and Rash Olsken is managed to nick 5th. Looks at the dying death here.
Yeah, just as Kerem Havertz comes out of the bus stop chicane, he comes round the banking. Halfway into this race, before the pit stop started, the top 7 were covered by 2 seconds. Instead, Kerem Havertz is coming along for his 2nd win of the season by 9.6 seconds. So what a second half of the race by the Turkish driver, and he takes his 2nd win of the season to really fire up the championship ahead of Prevot and Lang. Lang won't get him before the line. No, he doesn't. So that's another podium for both of them. Rash Olsen passes Christensen on the line. That will be possibly team orders because of Christensen not having done the first 2 rounds. 6th goes to Bonsuedo, who beats Kat Pawlic across the line. And here's Mirvang and Winkler still side by side across the line. It's Mirvang by possibly a 100th of a second. So that's really close between those 2. Wangen finishes in 10th ahead of Ahrens. Engel with 12th, Henrik 13th, Lillijord 14th, getting the better of Porsche of Marcini. And Brian Kroon will be coming across the line very soon, just ahead of Marcus Bloom, who is about 14 seconds back from this. And then about 4 seconds behind him is Fernando Torres. So as you can see, the field we're still very close together at the end of that race.
Yeah, certainly all on the same lap at the end of the lead driver. But I mean, wow, what a race! It was getting spicy at the end. That was for sure. You know, it was possibility that was going to happen. It's been unfortunate it did, and it wasn't just put out there on track between them 5 drivers fighting over that second place. But I mean, they certainly gave us an entertaining race for literally 59 minutes of that race. I mean, like you were saying, it's a story of 2 halves. You know, Havas was at the front, Prevost was literally right on his tail, so was Paulich, and after the pit stop it all seemed to get away. But I'll let you go through the race results for round 3 at Daytona.
So it's the second win of the season, second win in a row for Kerem Havertz after taking his second pole position in a row, and the Turkish driver wins by 9.715 seconds. Then it's championship leader Thibaut Prevost, who for Valkyrie competition will continue to lead the championship but have the pressure of Havertz right behind him. Lucas Lang cements his championship chances with 3rd place, but he will need to start getting better of Prevost as the season goes on. Top RPC Esports driver was Rash Olsen across the line in the Audi that he's only just changed to, and Roger Christensen on debut coming in 5th. Jeremy Bonsuedo and Marit Paulich 6th and 7th, what could have been for both them drivers after that incident in the final lap. Oidun Movang and Carl Winkler were at it for about 59 minutes of this 60-minute race, and they finish in 8th and 9th, just ahead of Thomas Wangen and Thomas Ahrens. 12th goes to Dominic Engel in the final course in racing, in another course in racing 2 entry, ahead of David Hendrick in the MTK Budapest Esports car. Anders Learjordet in 14th for Team Vikings, with Sandro Marcini in 15th, Brian Kroon 16th, Marcus Bloom 17th in the final of the course in racing cars, and Fernando Torres in 18th. That was the final finisher. Daniel Ferrer finished in the pit 26 laps down, in a bad day for MTK Budapest Esports, where Christian Juzas also retired, and Thomas Culliver never made it to the front row start he qualified on.
No, definitely. I mean, it was an entertaining race. You know, good practice for the guys for the 24-hour race coming up this weekend on iRacing, but an extremely entertaining race. And just if you did like the broadcast, then please do give us a thumbs up on it. And if you really want, just please subscribe to the channel. We have plenty of races, literally racing every single night on Apex Racing TV. So I'll just take you through what's coming up for the rest of the week on Apex Racing TV. So tomorrow we have round 2 of the brand new Porsche Cup. On Thursdays we have round 3 of the brand new Touring Car series, Touring Car Britain series that we have. That's on Thursdays. On Friday we've got the final round of the prototype round Le Mans, so that should be interesting. A good season finale there in the prototypes. On Saturday we've got the Formula 3 that's coming to the second half of the season, and then on Sunday we have various. We got another Formula 3 with the IGP Fun. I think we've got some radical racing as well on the weekends, and then on next Monday we got the brand new series of the Mazda Cup starting. So there's still places in all of them leagues that I've just mentioned there. If you head over to apexracingleague.com and go and have a look in the shop, you can see all the series that you can come and join. If you don't, you just fancy joining us here on YouTube, then please do. We always welcome you and all the good comments we do get in the chat. So it's been an interesting one, Dave, and really good round 3 and a really good advert for the Pro Series.
Yeah, it's been a great fight all the way through. I think the driver's having to have a bit of a rest as nobody's headed to the interview waiting room at the moment. Might have been interesting to hear from Bonsuedo after that final lap, but he hasn't headed in. But yeah, and the next round, even tougher for the drivers. Detroit Belle Isle. It's a circuit I haven't driven on. I've got it, but I've never driven it on iRacing yet. It's not come up on the calendars when I wanted to. And but it's a circuit I know well from watching the IndyCar series and the IMSA series around it. And it is a tough circuit to get right. So it'd be interesting to see who nails it around the Detroit Belle Isle circuit.
I don't think I've ever been around. I don't think I do have that track, so it'll be certainly an interesting one for me trying to learn the track and looking at a brand new track. I think I've pretty much seen everything else. I just haven't seen that one, or I probably have, or it's one of them least tracks that I know very little about on iRacing, but certainly been an entertaining day here on the GT Trophy on Apex. And yeah, I mean, Kieran Havas, I mean, he had a terrible Red Bull ring, but even that was really good. He started off at the back of the grid, managed to get himself up to P8, obviously had an incident on the last lap, second to last corner, and put paid to his race and ended up in 16th. But from that race, Dave, you could see that the guy had pace, and the last 2 rounds he's just dominated. Yeah,
the last 2 rounds have been just for him. But then we go to Detroit, which is a completely different circuit. It's a bit slower. It's probably the first slow circuit we've had. I mean, some of the corners, like the first 2 corners, are quite quick in a single seater, for example, or compared to some of us. It does have a few 90-degree corners and things like that, as most of American road circuits do. So it'll be interesting to see what car. I think Lucas Lang in the Porsche will be quite quick around there. And as we say that, hello, here comes Lucas Lang. So you can ask him about it, Andy.
Okay, and we welcome Lucas into the commentary booth, the sole Porsche driver at the top end of the field. Lucas, welcome to the commentary box. 3rd place overall in a very heated battle there for that 2nd place. How was that race for you?
It was absolutely great. It was so much fun. And actually, everybody was racing so fair and so cleanly. So, yeah. It was a great race. A lot of fun.
I mean, one of the things I want to ask you is the Porsche is not notorious for its straight line speed, but for whatever reason, you seem to be wringing the neck out of that Porsche to be able to keep up with these faster cars in front of you, and then obviously using the attributes that the Porsche have, which is obviously the tight braking going into corners, to really utilize that. How are you finding the speed in the Porsche when so many other of the Porsche drivers are really struggling at the moment?
So the Porsche is my favorite GT3 car, and actually I started when I started iRacing, I drove the Porsche Cup car a lot, and so I'm really used to how Porsche in iRacing drives, and so it basically translates over to the GT3 a lot, I think. And so you have to know the weaknesses of the car, and you have to know the strengths of the car. And one strength, as you said, it's really strong in corners at the moment, and you can take a lot of speed on the exit of the corner, and then you have to just stay in draft with the others, and then you can slipstream down the straight, and this is how you actually can keep up with the like the Lamborghini or BMW. But also I have to say the top speed isn't too bad of the Porsche.
I mean, for whatever reason, I mean, that was a really entertaining race for us. I mean, you drivers out on track were laying it all on track. There was 5 cars there that was in an opportunity to get 2nd overall. You pull back Prevot into your battle, and then it ended up in a 5-car race. Unfortunately, we saw Botswano and Paulich have a little bit of incident down the horseshoe, which you managed to avoid. Could you see it happening in front of you, and what was going through your mind when that incident took place?
Yeah, so I saw it in the mirror. Actually, so I think the beginning of this was that we went pretty wide into turn 1, and I was like trying to The only thing I was thinking about was trying to hold my line and don't touch anybody of the others. And I managed to do this. And then I saw in the mirror that they both touched. I think it was really slight, just a slight touch, which gave me a lot of... for me it was then easier because I had no pressure from behind anymore. But a little bit sad that the battle ended this way. Would have been fun to keep it up till the last round. Would have been interesting.
It certainly would have, but I suppose like for your sanity and the sweatiness that you probably would have ensued being that close together onto the final lap and getting that little bit of a breather was probably a godsend for you to be able to secure that third place in this round. We go to Belle Isle next, Detroit. How are you feeling for that round? Because it's completely different than the first 3 rounds that we've had here in this championship. It's the first one that's a real tight course, as Dave has told me. How are you feeling about that track?
I'm really looking forward to it. I think Detroit is a great track on iRacing. It makes a lot of fun. I had good races there before. And also, I'm actually quite glad the next round isn't so much about draft and more... so if you take the Red Bull Ring, for example, there also it was very important to stay in draft all the time. And so the next track is more technical and I think it should suit the Porsche also very well. So I'm looking forward to it. And I like the track.
Yeah, definitely. I think it will pay into the advantages that the Porsches have over the other GT3 car. But an excellent result for you tonight, Lucas. A really great result in Silverstone. So you're riding high at the moment in the championship. Obviously, we haven't had that drop round. So, good luck for the rest of the championship and look to see what you can do in Detroit. Before we let you go, mate, is there anybody you'd like to give a shout out to?
I'd like to give a shout out to my team, iRacing Esports, and also to my family. They always support me, so yeah, to these two. And thank you very much for commentating and keep up your great work. I watched the streams afterward, really enjoyed it.
Yeah, no, it's great to have you in, and please come back and tell the rest of the drivers that we do have open spots for them to come in at the end of the race. We don't, obviously. We are nice.
Anyway.
We are nice.
Okay. Have a great evening.
And you too, Lucas. Thanks for joining us. So there was Lucas Lang getting third place after a hotly contested lap. Any final thoughts from yourself, Dave?
I think, like Luke said, it was a bit of a slipstream dictated race today. Detroit will be very interesting. The BMW won't be able to sort of stretch its legs there. So it will be interesting to see if Prevost can hold on to his championship lead there, be closing Havas very close behind.
So there's our final word from Dave, and that brings us to the end of this broadcast. Another excellent result from Kerem Havas in first bet, and a consistent race result there for Prevost, which should keep him at the top of the championship. But plenty of drivers behind him queuing up now, getting used to these cars. So from Daytona International Speedway of round 3 of the GT Trophy Pro Season 2. I've been Andy Thompson. I've been joined by Dave Whitehouse, and in the production box of Lewis O'Hara. We bid you farewell and look forward to the same time next week to see what the delights of Detroit has to offer. Good night.
Virtual Racing School was developed to provide support to the next generation of sim racers. No matter if you're a rookie or veteran or what car or track you'll be racing, our goal is to provide training every step of the way. We found that iRacing can be quite difficult without proper training. There needed to be a way to prepare for on-track racing. With VRS, you can literally learn from the best sim racers in the world, including 4-time NASCAR iRacing World Champion Ray Alfala.
And Ray Alfala is a 4-time champion of the NASCAR Peak Antifreeze iRacing Series.
3-time iRacing Grand Prix World Champion Martin Kroenke.
Martin Kroenke becomes a 3-time world champion.
Rallycross World Champion Mitchell de Jong.
Mitchell de Jong is now champion for the iRacing Rallycross World Championship Series.
And many other top sim racers. Data packs include everything you need to start learning. Our World Championship coaches create the data packs by setting a hot lap or a series of fast laps for you to compare, analyze, and replicate. Data packs also include a tutorial where the coach points out techniques they use to hit the fast lap. This gives you access to the latest driving techniques and setups before you even hit the track. Sign up for a free account and download the VRS telemetry logger. With this application running seamlessly in the background, your laps automatically start syncing to the VRS website. From there, you can analyze and compare 2 laps of your choice, whether it's your data, the coaches, or your teammates. VRS will automatically target improvement opportunities so you can get up to speed even faster. VRS also makes it easy for you to request and schedule one-on-one or group coaching sessions. These sessions can range from 30 to 90 minutes, and you can select the car, track, and setup combination of your choice. Visit virtualracingschool.com today to sign up and get started.